Okay, so we are recording now. This call is a basic coverage to try to help you understand Quality Matters, which is a program, which is a process to help our online courses with consistency and delivery. It is not to affect course content. That is owned by the division. It is a matter of providing coherence and alignment within the course, within the modality of online. The basic principles can be applied to regular courses also, as they've got some really core values invested with that. I'd like to introduce you to my co-presenter, Jennifer Allen, who is the chair over psychology and social sciences. And she has gone through the rubric training, which some of you have already gone through. Sarah Matthew has gone through it and expressed how rigorous it was. I am working to figure out how to get some of those trainings for me to get certified to train them so that they're not 2 weeks long, but the chairs really need to have a more in-depth knowledge of this, even though it is pretty rigorous as we start to observe classes in fall of 23. So what we're hoping to do is provide you with an overview of Quality Matters and leave the majority of the call for you to poke questions at us. We did have a session on Thursday and we had some very good questions from that. But to give you a basic timeline of what we intend to do is we won't be officially certifying online courses until the fall of 23, but we have got a lot of work to do between now and then as far as aligning it to the current OCCC online rubric. That's a good start, self-evaluation for faculty. And then we're going to do some internal reviews on some of the courses that we think are closer to the mark before we are actually having people outside our institution poke in our purses. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see the PowerPoint that we've put together. All right. Will someone let me know if you can see that? Okay. So I'm going to take the front part of this presentation and Jennifer is going to scoop in and be the more entertaining co-host than I am.
No pressure there.
So our agenda objectives for today is give you a general overview of QM, discuss the 8 general standards that the Quality Matters rubric and assessment system looks at, our role in this process. You know, it's going to take time. Sort of like going through K through 12, you certainly couldn't write a term paper in 3rd grade, now could we? So we're not starting with doing the hard part first. And then Q&A. So I'm not going to insult you by reading this to you, but the Quality Matter quality assurance system is basically, if any of you are familiar with business, and you're familiar with ISO certification for manufacturing or the gold standard, when you go to buy a product and you are brand loyal, you know what to expect when you have chosen to purchase a certain vehicle from a dealership, or there's a restaurant that you can always go to that you know no matter when you go that the quality is going to be there. The Quality Matters certification tells other institutions and our students that we meet this rigorous criteria in our online courses, that we've been not only certified to teach it, but certified that we're going to meet certain standards with that seal. So it's a continuous improvement process. You don't have to hit the 100% mark. 85% is what we gear for the courses. And it relies on the 3 core principles: centered, collegial, and collaborative. So there again, we're not messing with the content, we're messing with how we're delivering it. So if you walk into my house, if I have everything by the front door, you're not really going to know where to go just like a student entering their Moodle course, if it's not clear where they need to go first, where to find the syllabus, where to find certain things, they could wander around aimlessly through all the things that you have posted, get overwhelmed, and quit the course. So we want to make sure when students enter the foyer of that course that they're able to find their way around, no matter whether they're taking a psychology course, a calculus course, or an English course, that initially when they enter, they know with a QM standard that there's a syllabus, that there are different things posted in there, and exactly where to go to find them. Okay, so the exclusive rubrics and standards, I had sent out a OCCC approved online rubric that was designed far before I was here, that Glenee gave me, that we're supposed to be using. And what I have found with discussion with faculty is a lot of you or them had never seen that before. If we can take that instrument that I have emailed out and start using it with faculty as a self-evaluation tool, that will help them understand kind of what needs to be in their course. It'll be one step closer to this very thorough rubric that Quality Matters supplies. On those items, they are aligned with one of the 8 objectives. It's just the Quality Matters one goes into more detail. So we don't want to put that out immediately. It'll frighten them to death, and they'll think that I'm trying to put them through Title III again, and I'm not going to do that. Okay. So this link here at the bottom of the slide gets you into the Quality Matters website that lets you kind of peruse around there and find out just what is Quality Matters. What is Kathy trying to do to us? Okay. So this is its mission: promote and improve the quality of online education. And that's what we want. We want to be sure that when somebody goes to explore an online program, that they want to come to OCCC, that our directions are clear, that the professors are there for them, that we have a good level of engagement with our students. It's more than just the content, it's the treatment. It's the treatment. So as you've experienced with retailers, or someplace that you like to go and some places that you don't like to go, oftentimes it's the quality of the food and the way that you are treated that gets you to come back. I've had visits with students this term that have said, if somebody here hadn't helped them, they would never take an online course again. I'm going to use an example that Mickey gave me about a student that was new to our online and new to our institution and couldn't find their way around the course, couldn't find out what they were supposed to read and what they weren't supposed to read, because a faculty member in the Moodle course had left the part that they were supposed to replace, the introduction. They left it with that standardized statement that we have in there for you to start with. So there was no directions where to find the syllabus. Eventually, Mickey and I found the syllabus, but the problem was there was no intro message from the instructor at all. So the first personalized message that this student got was a message on the Monday at the beginning of week 2 saying that if they'd not turned in an assignment by 11:59 that night, that they were going to be dropped from the class. Now, doesn't that make some warm fuzzies? Doesn't it make you want to stay in that course? I've had other stories to where the faculty member assumed that the student had used Moodle before, because not all instructors are requiring the Moodle orientation course. And they also assumed that the student had used ebooks and that they had done an online course before, none of which could be true. Somebody could have put 15 hours in with our institution and not done online with us. So you see where the breakdown. Quality Matters aims to make every course, no matter what the content, consistent. The student knows what to expect. fosters, I like this line, fostering a culture of continuous improvement. Okay. So here are our standards, and I'm going to start them out, and Jennifer's going to pick up the ball midway through. That the first objective, the first rubric standard, is the course overview and introduction. So oftentimes you're already doing this. We just need the student, when they first open up their Moodle, basically it's as simple as making a unit or a module that says start here. It's that simple. You can load the syllabus and your introductions and your course schedule and everything in the sequence you want them to read it, but there should be directions in there, assuming, you should always assume that the student has never seen an online course before. Okay, so say, well, they had an online course with me last semester. They know, okay, well, maybe they have forgotten. Maybe they've had a lot of trauma in their life and had a head injury or something. You need to treat that consumer like they need help. We're not going to handhold them, but we're going to help guide them. Then the next thing, the next standard looks at the learning objectives. In other words, you've got your course objectives, you've got your unit objectives, and then every assignment that's within that unit needs to be tied to that objective. If I am teaching basket weaving, I don't want to have an assignment that the student goes and watches a video of how to make a cake and answer questions, because it's not even related to the topic. And there are instructors that put things out there, and it's not even related to what it's busy work, or it's not, just what you want to see is 400 pictures of my trip to Alaska, right? Right? Not. Okay. So we want to make sure that those competencies are all aligned. Even if it's as simple as on your course schedule that you've got the unit and the assignments, and then over on a far right column that you've got the objectives to what those assignments are aligned to. Assessment and measurement. We want to be sure that students are being assessed and measured, and feedback along with that, we need to be sure that we're looking at student outcomes. And then this all ties into the instructional materials. They're again looping into the objectives, that they're all tied together, that there's a purpose for what they're doing. Okay, Jan, I'm going to toss this ball to you. I think that they're dozing with the sound of my voice.
Okay. So when we look at the last four, I think these all really tie together. It has to do with engaging the student and the support of the student. It's much more student focused on these last four. So when we look at learning activities and learner interaction, this goes back to a little bit with what kind of assignments we're creating that are going to engage the student in the course, in the material, what we're doing as professors to engage those students as well, the technology that we're using in the course. For psych, for example, we use Connect, but there's a learning curve in any of those programs, whether it's Moodle or Connect, any of those things. So sometimes you say, if you say, well, check your LMS, they're not going to know what an LMS is. I have adjuncts come in who don't know what an LMS is. So I think it's, again, educating, and it's providing a format. Our psych students like Connect because it's pretty much what we use throughout the program. So when they get it in Gen Psych, the next time they log in, it's the same. It's the same program. It looks the same. It feels the same. So even there might be different assignments, it's familiar to them, and they're able to navigate much quicker, much faster, and get into the course and get started. So that's what a lot of the design proportion is about, I guess. Learner support, and then accessibility and usability. So a lot of the things that will bump you up to meet the Quality Matter standards are things that don't necessarily impact the teaching side of it. It's actually about the design of your master course or Moodle. So one of the things that Psych did, this summer, at the beginning of the fall, end of the summer, beginning of fall, I took some time and created and put some things in the master course that meet these objectives. these standards that the Quality Matters has. Didn't affect my professors whatsoever. And it only took me about an hour to do it, but it was enough to put resources. So when students log into our Moodle courses now, they actually there's a folder there that will say like library resources. And so it's got some specific things for psychology students. There is a tech support that lists contacts of different things. I've included all of the information about how Connect is accessible, the standards that are in place there from that program. So these are things you can do that aren't tremendous, but that it makes it just easier for the student to access. And we have a folder in there that just simply has links to counseling services, student support services. So if they need accommodations, these are just very simple things that we put in that actually, because as a reviewer, if I was going to go in, it's right there. I can just click on the folder and everything that we need for that student is there and visible. And that's what a lot of this is. I kind of, as Kathy and I've talked the last few weeks, the one thing that keeps coming to my mind is it's really just making what we do visible, easy to find for the student. And I will start out what Quality Matters is not. As we were talking about how to do this, I said, well, let me tell them what it's not first. It is not a complete course redesign. Most of what we've done in psych, it's tweaking things. It's just, again, making things visible. We're not going to dictate course content. That is still entirely up to your departments and the course instructors. And it doesn't dictate instructional delivery. So it's not about, I'm not going to say, well, you can't use this assignment here, or you can't do that. As long as it aligns and the alignment is there, how you teach is really up to you. It's not a punitive process. It's a collaborative process. It's all about, you know, there are times I've logged into someone else's course and I'm like, that's really cool. I'm going to steal that, right? It's again, using what other people have done, not reinventing the wheel. And I'm always about sharing stuff. So if somebody logs in and says, oh, I really like that, I'm like, here, have it. It's, you know, I probably got it from somebody else too. And it's not about perfection. Again, 85% is the mark. And so if the alignment is there, you could be a little bit short here and you're going to be okay, because those are, again, it's a continuous process. So this may be something you try, doesn't work, that's okay. We just tweak it for the next time, but it is not going to be a Title III, I promise you. I think we all have enough PTSD from that, so we're not going to go there again. I think that that's good. Oh, a question came in from Jeanette. I'll get to that in just a second, Jeanette. I will absolutely answer that. What it is a review process. It's collaboration. It's about peers. So it's about me looking at someone else's course. I don't necessarily have to have knowledge of that content area, because I can log in and say, okay, if I was a student logging in, would this make sense to me? Could I find what I needed to find? And those of us that have gone through the training, that's one of the things we had to review a course. And Sarah, I don't know if you had the same course, but that 20-minute intro video, that's 20 minutes of my life I'll never get back. It makes you really stop and think about how many times have we done videos like that? And I think, well, it's not that bad. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is this guy ever going to be quiet, right? But it makes us think about those things. It's alignment is the big thing. You know, why am I having them do this assignment? It really makes you stop and think about what's the purpose of this. I don't like busy work any more than anybody else. And we get enough from other things in the college of busy work that we have to do. We don't need to be giving it to our students, right? So we want to focus and concentrate and make sure we're targeting the information that we want them to know, and that aligns to those objectives. So it's really about student learning and the usability of the course. That's really, really, really what this focuses on. And I think it's really about leveraging the strengths of a team. It's a team approach. So you might have one person who's really strong in one area, and somebody who's strong in something else, and it's leveraging those strengths to make your course the best course it can be.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you guys, all of you, operate with, I need to know. I need to know. I need to know when to freak out. I need to know. I want to be involved. We want to address all of those things. There aren't any secrets, but you certainly don't want to try to digest a 500-page novel in 15 minutes. So what we're hoping to do is introduce this, and if I may discuss something that Michelle Cole offered me after our last, I think it was our last steering committee meeting, is can we break these down into training like on one objective at a time? Absolutely, yes. We absolutely can do that, because we've got, if we're not ready to start officially reviewing courses next fall, we're not ready. We don't have that drop dead deadline. Okay, I've got a flexible, fluid process that I want to start this introduction. I want to start putting people into training. I want to start addressing the chairs with the training. And then I want to do some specific training with faculty, specific training with chairs, so that by the time we get down to actually using this tool, that we've had practice with it and a good understanding of it, okay? If we try to swallow this all at one time with everything else that we have throwing at us, like scheduling classes and grading papers and participating in committees, things like that, it will fail, okay? The whole idea is to make your work easier, the students' experience better, and our working relationship better as we work together to try to paint your wall, okay? If you want it green, we're going to have to figure out how we can make it green. And if we can't, is there some sort of compromise for that? All right. So, all right, Jennifer, before I throw this out to our audience, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I'm excited about this. I think it's a good step for the online. It really is. This is the way education is moving, and I think this will be really positive for the college.
Okay, so I'm going to quit sharing so that I can see all your pretty faces. And we're going to throw it out to the audience.
I'll start with Jeanette's question, if that's okay. So she asked what was different that I put in the Moodle course. I wouldn't say it's necessarily different, Jeanette, but it's easier for them to access. You know, most students, after that first time, they might read through a syllabus if they even read through it to begin with. But it's, so when they log into the Moodle course, it's right there. They can click on the folder and it's got links out. I think it's just making it easier and more accessible for them.
And those of you that have already completed your rubric training, I have a workbook for you. You can't copy it and you can't share it with your faculty, but it is for your use to have something written, if that helps you, puts everything kind of in one place.
I do have another question for Jennifer, kind of there, and both of you anyway. Jennifer, you sat down and you worked on how many? Three different areas, like the student support services and a couple of other ones?
Yeah, I picked the easiest ones first, because they were the ones that I could create that would not affect my professors in any way. So it was just things that I could put into Moodle, but I've knocked out about 3 or 4 of those in about 2 hours time.
Were all of them generic to the point that I could say, Jennifer, send me that one, I'll put it in ours too? Or, and by the way, that said, we know how the statement on students support services changes once a year, I guess, something like that. I guess that puts us in a position if you could, we all got the same statement there that every semester we did to go to that master course and put the new one in.
So,
right?
so I would think this would be a CLT question, because we put it in the master course. So I created, and then it's just when they import the master course into their section, those folders are already there. So you may want to tweak those for whatever you do, but it could be possible, Lindsay, it's maybe a question for you, where we just build in some folders that are there. Now, like I contacted Connect, and for each textbook, there's a specific rubric that goes along with the accessibility, and they just sent me that information. So I could update those as we update editions or whatever. But there are some things that stay pretty consistent that I think you could definitely build them into your master courses.
Okay, thank you.
Is that something we could ask student services to give us? Because Jennifer, you're making a list of yours. That list of resources for students might be different from what I may make or another division may make. So can we get something from the college that CLT could put into the teacher resources course that anybody can actually access, and it will be the same across all courses, across all divisions?
Just to speak to that, we do have the Moodle like template, right? The basic template that all the courses use. So we can do what Sarah's talking about as far as like, you already have those sources, those resources that are already in there. We can add to that or change those. Just need to get academic affairs approval before we, start changing that template, but it is changeable.
So it may be a matter that Jennifer, you share what you've done with that, and it can go to academic affairs to see if they approve it being added to what's already out there. The main thing is there's more than just disability services that the students need access to for support.
Yeah, so we've included the clothes closet, we've included the food pantry, we've included all of those things that we just pulled off the website, and we just put a link so they could click on it and goes to that web page. The challenge with that is if that changes over time, then you have to obviously kind of have somebody keep up with the links and those kind of things. But yeah, any kind of resources that we thought a student might possibly ever use, we just included in one folder, and it's just links.
Yeah, the links would just need to be checked regularly, because especially as the website continues to be updated and moved and changed, and you may believe that your link still works and it may lead to nowhere now. So that would be whoever's taking care of that master course would need to double check those links.
Yeah.
What other kind of questions or concerns do you guys have?
Okay, this is Chris Orline from the math department, and I'm going to admit up front that maybe I am naive about what happens in some syllabi and classes, but I'm concerned that we may be trying to solve a problem that isn't there. Aren't all of our syllabi already supposed to have detailed course objectives and unit by unit learning objectives and lists of learning activities?
Yes, sir.
Already there and in them. So what?
They
Yes,
are
I don't
supposed
see
to.
the purpose. If those are already supposed to be in there, what are we doing?
What we're doing is making sure that we don't have courses that have not followed those guidelines. And hearing from students, that's the case. So if you are using the course checklist and you're using the course syllabi, the master that Lindsay has posted out there, and you're listing your course objectives and you're tying your assignments to those objectives, you have no concerns. Okay. And we're going to find that a lot of courses don't need to have anything more than a fresh doorknob put on it. But
Okay.
I have looked in courses, Chris, that I'm very concerned, especially with the changes in this past few years, that the message has not gotten out. And I'm not talking about full-time faculty. I'm talking about, let's just say, maybe adjuncts or part-time faculty or some rogue faculty that's been here forever that doesn't understand why they need to use the master template for the syllabus.
Wouldn't that be something that the person reviewing the for example, observing the faculty member would say like, whoa, this syllabus doesn't look like what I thought it
Yeah.
was supposed to be.
Yes, but I think if I were to take a survey across the board with all our faculty, that not all classes are evaluated or reviewed every semester. Now,
No, I
maybe,
think they told us last year the policy, we were going alphabetically, as I recall. And I just kind of tried to catch up in the spring but it was supposedly going to be alphabetical observation. So once a year, but it would be some in the fall, some in the spring. Yes.
once a year is good. Once a year is good, but if they're brand new faculty, maybe,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you've got this rotation cycle going, great. If you've got a small amount of faculty going, great. But what if you've got 55 sections that you're worrying about in Comp 1? Are you going to be able to review all of those in a year's period? So odds are that we're probably where we need to be in most cases. We just need to, underneath that one rug in the back room, there may be some dust bunnies that we need to take care of. Jennifer, you want to add anything to that with my silly analogy?
No, I think that's true. Even in psych, there's things that, we've been moving in this direction for a couple of years, but we're not perfect yet. I mean, there's still things that, again, some things that we do, we just don't have them necessarily visible, where like we know that that's the way it is, but maybe it's not as clear as it should be to the student. And so I think that's kind of going back to what Chris was asking about. The other thing we ran into, Chris, is we now have state mandated learning objectives for general psychology, and they're terrible. They're horribly written. They're terrible. And so how does that affect us? Well, there is a way to deal with that now with Quality Matters, where we can look at actually specific chapter objectives, but maybe we need to be a little bit clearer on those chapter objectives, because that's what's really going to align more closely to the assignments. And so again, it's this continuous improvement and having options on how to deal with things like that.
Jeremy, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks. I guess I was I'm out of the loop. I didn't know that there was a rubric training. Did I miss something on this?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay.
We have got a small core group of 8, and some
Okay.
of them won't even start their training until November 4th. When we get into January, note to anybody that's on this call, don't go out and sign yourself up, or you're going to cause issues with costs. So Cole and OCO are going to be putting out some Oklahoma specific trainings that cost a fraction of the cost for us. And the chairs are the next group that will be given the option of going through that training. Now, I've got people on this call that will tell you that it's very rigorous. I have a one-on-one next week with Dr. Thomas and Dr. Wisenhunt to discuss possible ways to reimburse stipend something to people that have gone through that 2-week training to help compensate for what they, quote, volunteered to do, because it does take a total of about 20 hours spread out over 2 weeks. And it is very intensive, especially if you care enough to learn about it. When it comes, we'd already approved the fact that if you become part of the official observation team, part of the people that review the courses, that there will be a stipend for that. But we had not discussed what to do about this training. I am going to have to go through a 3-week training just to be able to have permission to teach some of this here on the campus, in addition to the 4 that I've already done. So I'm so excited. But I'm trying to work it out to where you guys wouldn't have to do that, the general faculty, but chairs. I know this is just another feather in your cap, but it will help you if you at least take the rubric training so that you know what we're examining. Okay, especially as you answer questions to faculty that are being evaluated, and they start to freak out. So I'm working on trying to get the compensation. I don't think that there's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be whose budget is it coming out of, because I don't really have a budget. So we'll figure that out.
A second question. So are we also going to follow up with a QM training, or is that?
That
just
is what this rubric training would be, is official.
Okay, that is the QM.
Yes, quality matters training.
Yep.
There's several, but for chairs, I think it is very important that you at least do the rubric training.
Okay.
Even if you're not going to be somebody that is officially reviewing the courses.
Okay.
If you want to end up officially reviewing the courses for your pleasure, there's another 2-week course. But I'm not throwing that at you right now. Let's get through the holidays.
And last question. It's kind of interesting that you used the color green before. I was wondering about color deficiencies and anyone who has that for our rubric. Right now, I've been saying I thought that we were supposed to not have color. Like red is I guess I'm unclear on some of those things, and for the syllabus for ADA compliancy, I wasn't sure for that.
Quality Matters addresses all of that.
Okay.
It addresses it. That accessibility can be as simple as you using colors and people can't see them. Okay. Or an image that they don't know what it is. Okay. You use the word here. I'll use a silly analogy, dresser and bureau. Okay. So you're talking to somebody that has never had a dresser or a bureau, and you put a picture of it, and they're trying to understand that. There needs to be a description, because what if that person has only ever had a cardboard box to put their things in? So there's some things that we take for granted here, and that maybe somebody can read, but they can't retain unless they hear it. They're an auditory learner. So Jennifer, is there anything you want to add to that as you've gone through this training, or Sarah also, because you've gone through the training about the accessibility?
No, I think that covers it. And I think it's a lot more in depth than we realize. And it's just not something we probably paid as much attention to as we should have. And I have learned a lot even through the training myself. Just the color issue just came up in the psych syllabi. And so, I told everybody, just change it to all black and white. You don't necessarily need color in there. I think it looks pretty, but you don't need it. That's the art person in me, Jeremy. You always want to make things look nice, right? And so, but you don't need it.
Underline, you can underline, or you can change the font, bigger or smaller, and you can bold. So there are other ways that you can enhance the text that won't affect people that are color deficient.
Correct.
We're talking about everything, or is the narrow focus on the syllabus, which is usually, I knew about the colors on the syllabus. The reason I ask that is because you can always provide 2 syllabi, one that has some things underlined for people that just want, like me. By the way, if I put things in all caps, it's because I'm over 60, okay? And I'm wearing glasses, okay? I'm not angry at anybody, okay?
I know.
But I was gonna say, if you have 2, then those of us who kind of like to see something highlighted, I agree with the underlining though, because I started doing that. But that's also an option, is just having 2 versions, to choose from.
I think
Just the syllabus, whatever,
I think it's just really thinking about using, I'm going to be honest, because I'm old school as well. The whole headings and all that stuff, that I'm kind of green at that stuff, and it's having to go back now, and I'm catching myself paying more attention to that and actually using those and doing it that way. But it's a process. Again, I don't, for us, it's been transitioning those things. It's stuff that I'm doing as a chair that most of my faculty have no idea I've even done, but it doesn't affect them. So that's going to be the thing you're going to get from faculty is, oh my gosh, what are we going to have to do now? Most of it, they'll never even realize that anything's changed. So,
It's the people that are writing the master courses or supplying that master template that, and Jennifer did not do all of this in overnight. She kind of
No.
picked the things that had the most impact first and just gradually all last summer, right?
really, for I would say the last couple of years, I've been
Yeah,
moving
gradual.
incrementally in this direction, so that we've kind of redone. And then, yeah, the things that I put in the syllabus, I did this summer, and I just said, hey guys, I've added this in Moodle. Just be sure, we're going to copy it in. And I even had a couple professors, and I worked with Morgan to get those folders copied into their courses for them. So then it was just updating. It was not a huge deal for them.
So we are approaching the last 15 minutes of this. We certainly do not have to use all of it, but I do want everyone to have a chance to express concerns or ask questions. This isn't the be all end all. I am going to send these recordings out. You are welcome to share these with, I would say, your more experienced faculty. They don't have to be a chair for this, but be cognizant that it could freak some people out if they don't understand how they're going to be affected. So it's sort of like deprocessing a film that you're going to show students, that you need to be sure that you don't put it out there without also the offer of debriefing it after that they view it. Okay. So that they're not left hanging out there. Okay, what now? What comes next? Questions?
Sarah,
Okay, go
anything
ahead.
we missed, since Sarah went through the training too?
No. I'm just looking at things to do for fall. For the second
Well,
part of
and
fall.
do not get a bad taste in your mouth and try to do this all at one time.
No,
You've got Candy McKee in the English area, and you've got Jennifer in the psychology area that have both been working at least a year trying to start tightening this in. Candy used to be a master reviewer. She is working on getting that status back. And she knows, if you know Candy, if I were going to mess with her content, I would probably lose my job. So I'm not messing with the contents of your purse. I'm asking you to organize it. There's a big difference.
that's exactly what I'm looking at too. I'm not looking at it as, making big changes, but it's the small changes. And I do agree with what Michelle said. I think looking at one specific goal at a time would help everybody digest and understand it better. Chris alluded to that. We have course competencies, we have learning objectives, but it's how do we put that into Moodle?
Mhm.
How do we align that to an assessment we have? And that makes it easier for anybody through that process, whether it be a chair, faculty, dean, to be able to answer questions when students come and go, well, why are we doing this? It goes back. So I totally get the value. I understand that it's just, how do I incorporate and make those tiny changes of, that is there.
Thank you for sharing that, Sarah, because that encompasses exactly. And I think at this point, I'm going to stop the recording. The whole thing went away.